8:44, and Michael's the only person here, and he's reading the paper. Got a cup of coffee, some Christmas cookies, and a newspaper.
That's right. Living the dream.
Living the dream. Morning, Daniel.
How are you?
Okay, dope. How are you? There's fantastic Christmas cookies out here.
Oh, really?
I wasn't even registered until you sent me out.
Yeah, just do your lip, just hit submit for review and it'll send it to me. Oh, you're not the only one.
Oh, I didn't figure.
Shopping probably.
Carl, I have to ask, did you send out an email about sales meeting today?
I did not.
Okay, all right.
No.
I was just curious, because sometimes I thought, well, maybe I'm missing them sometime.
No, yesterday got away from me.
No problem. I was just curious because I know a lot of times you send out, say kind of what
I try to,
the
yeah.
agenda is or
And get some
whatever.
listening pictures.
And yeah, so anyhow, I was just
Yeah,
curious
I'm
about it. No problem.
Not any very heavy subjects today. I don't know how many people will be here. The word was out. The cookies were coming.
Oh,
Probably
so-
nobody would be here.
Well,
Michael's just in the back of the room eating cookies, reading the newspaper. Like he's at home.
Paul brought some too.
Yeah. Thanks for the cookies, Paul.
Welcome.
Was that family project?
Family tradition.
Sweet. Hi, Debbie.
Good morning.
It's cookie day. I hope you're ready for it.
Oh.
Actually didn't make quite as many as we normally do, but I think we're gonna make another couple of batches.
Oh, yeah?
Well, seeing your kids doing that together, that was adorable. You probably thought your kitchen didn't look too adorable after it was all done.
Actually, it's getting better.
Yeah?
It's getting better. The first couple of years,
Right.
whole nother story.
Well,
Flour everywhere.
good memories though. Good memories. Everybody snoozing in this morning.
I think we're heading into the holidays.
Well, that's we'll get it hard.
Excuse me.
Got up to go to the gym this morning. I went to the gym this morning. Power was out on that side of town, so we said the gym was open.
Really?
People were driving through and driving out. There was a wreck or something out on 81 on the Fort Republic Road Bridge. You take one, I'll take
Well,
one.
I'm viewing. Being bad this morning, being bad. Yeah, 'tis the season. So
So-
please tell your precious kiddos that we enjoyed
Yeah, I wonder how long.
their work.
The power's on now.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's all on there.
Okay.
And my favorite cookie is a soft iced sugar cookie.
It's been, I guess, family recipe for Nicole for 20, 30 years.
Hmm.
Well, I tell you what, I like
That's cool.
this. I like this recipe. If she'd share it, I'd love it. Unless it's a secret.
No. I don't think so.
Yeah.
The only recipe in our house is a secret.
This is a climate tradition.
I love a good chili recipe too.
I've actually shared it twice, but I do it so much off of just taste that when I've given the recipe away twice to family members, like they couldn't, it didn't turn out like it's not right. I don't know why. Like
Gotcha.
So what kind of reaction?
Do you do regular traditional red chili? Because I also do a white onion chicken chili, which we love too.
I got a white chicken chili recipe from Jam Music Executive Show.
Oh,
When I worked there. We did a program for seniors. Graduating
Christmas
Right.
It's kind of festive. I like that about
Executive Chef
down
in
there.
there. Basically,
All the
program.
it's got the decorations.
Chef actually put together like
They light up their
here's
Christmas
everything you
lights.
need to buy, and it totaled like 26. And the price was totaled like $26 to make
Kind of
5
have
meals.
to
And one of the meals was
Tuesday, what are we doing?
Yeah, right. Yeah, we love it.
Yeah, we
love
do.
it.
So
The best trick I learned from him on that is that
houses and
a lot of times white chili is kind of thick.
and
He said what you do is once your beans are
brothers
cooked,
and their families living there
you take
in Frederick County.
spoon out some of the beans, put it blended up, and then natural cornstarch and the beans, and you put it back in, thicken it all up.
Well, you've probably, if you've been here any time at all, you've probably heard me say the most TV hour. We have an emergency. Okay, if you're a cook, you absolutely need that. You would love that for broccoli soup, or to do exactly what you say. You can easily mash that, mash a few up. But if you are into soup,
That's a rare
you definitely do. And they're not that expensive.
No.
But very good.
I know.
And some of the simplest things are things you sort of, why did I never think of that?
Depending on which end, it can be kind of, and it's not a nice ride. It's not pretty once you get to Pennsylvania.
That has been released to you.
Well.
Carl, what were you
All right.
say?
Everybody sugared up? I cannot actually remember what it is, but I remember when I saw it, I was blown away.
Okay.
Good, good.
So,
Good teaser.
yeah. Yeah, anything she does is awesome. But, yeah, I can't remember what the main course is. All right. So, good lead in. Christmas party is Thursday night. Your family is most welcome. We have about 125 folks signed up so far, including families. So if you haven't signed up and you want to, I think you still can. But let Sammy or Lois know today. Our Habitat project, they had us scheduled for the week between, or the 4 days after Christmas. The permitting process is not going as quickly as they had hoped. Surprise, surprise. So our first work dates have been bumped to the middle of January, 18th to the 22nd. So as we get close to that, we'll pin down 1 or 2 days in there for us, and then the Bridgewater United Methodist Church, who's the other main sponsor, will take the other couple of days. So. And I don't know, it says spreading gravel in the crawl space. I can't imagine that's 4 days worth of work, so it'll probably be spreading gravel and then starting with some skilled help there, starting the framing process, which will be fun. And our final, is this the final, Paul, session
Yes.
today? Okay, so the third and final business planning session is today. If you've been coming to that, please join us. If you haven't been coming, you can show up anyway. It's just setting aside an hour for you to work on your plans for next year, big picture all the way down to daily tasks.
Today we're going to be focusing on budget and really kind of like those business systems you need in order to reach your goals.
Fantastic. Karen Carpenter sent around the GRI schedule. If you didn't get that and you're interested, this is a link to it. You can grab that email or go to the Virginia Realtors website, and they have the whole 10 classes that you need, 8 in person, 2 online. Remember, there's a bonus, a split bonus for that now. Several people have jumped into that. So if you'd like to take these, you can do them at your own pace. If you're willing to travel a little bit, we've had one agent that knocked out all 10 in 4 months, and just drove around the state and knocked them out. So I think you have up to 5 years to do it. So anywhere in that time frame, it's up to you. Same thing with the broker classes. If you're interested in that, those are fantastic classes. You have to take, there are 6 or 8 to choose from. You have to take brokerage management, which is kind of big picture how the company functions. And then you can choose 3 more from the remaining ones. And they're really, really good real world information. And then there's also 3% back for that.
How did you take your broker classes?
I ended up doing it old school and ordered the books, and really had a hard time setting aside the time to do it. So I ended up taking a Friday off once a week until I knocked them out, and I just spend all day working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just highlighting the books like I was in college again. But you can still do that. You can get the textbooks. You can go do it all online, or you could do it in person. There's nothing really locally in person, but Mosley has some of those classes scattered around the state. So as you're making your plans for next year, think about if you want to embark on one or both of those tracks. We got, if you read the HRAR newsletter that just came out, they were celebrating the fact that that we've earned the RPAC Triple Crown for the 5th year in a row. What that means is the association as a whole exceeded the goals that the National Association gives us in dollars given, participation rate, and major donors, which is over $1,000. This really, I've mentioned to you before, I think probably this group here, I'm preaching to the choir, and I don't need to go into it, but the advocacy that we get legislatively from both the state and the national level is amazing. And I never realized it until I was on the inside as an officer and went to some of these meetings. But the lobby that the realtors have on the state and national level is really tremendous. They have a big influence on what bills pass and what bills don't. And the example I've given before, the one they like to give as the most dramatic one, that they monitor every bill. I think last year there were 1,300 bills that went through the General Assembly in Virginia in that 2-month session. They monitor every one of those to see any potential impact on property rights or the realtors and how we do our jobs. And somebody somewhere in the state had an incident where somebody dug where they weren't supposed to, and it caused a problem. So their local representative submitted a bill that said anytime anybody puts anything in the ground more than 4 inches, you have to call Miss Utility, which would be a real estate sign or a directional sign. And it was making its way through the House, and everybody was thinking what a great public safety idea this was until our folks came in and explained to them how many people they'd have to hire for Miss Utility to be checking out every single real estate sign that got planted in the ground, and it killed the bill. And those kind of things happen all the time, both at the national and the state level. So I guess the message is, don't assume that making donations to RPAC is supporting one candidate or another and one race or another. They really don't do that. The vast majority of their effort goes to the legislative side and monitoring that for us. They also, on the Virginia Realtors website, I've shown you before, there is a, next slide or not. If you have an idea, you can go right on the Virginia Realtors website. I'm not signed in at the moment. And there's a form there where you can submit your idea, and it goes right to the advocacy folks. And if they get similar feedback back from a number of agents, they will go find some representatives to sponsor that. They're amazingly effective. We have over 30,000 realtors in the state and over something like 1.3 million nationally. And that's really a force. So there's your form. Super simple. They also have just a summary of their priorities that I thought would be interesting. Oh, crap. Never mind. And they do a good bit of, it's not showing that. A lot of their efforts go to the rental side of things, the property management side. There are a lot more regulations and a lot more problems in that side of the world. Make that a little bigger for you. But this is what, on the state level, this is what they're lobbying for this session that's coming up. This session is going to be very different. You all know the makeup of the General Assembly has changed quite a bit. It's flipped from Republican to Democrat. So that's going to have an impact on the types of bills that get pushed forward and get out of committee. These are the things that Virginia Realtors are pushing for. The top one, they made really good progress last year and got some changes in the law that allow independent contractors to apply for some group health plans, just like they were a company. They want to take that a step further and make all group health plans available to individual independent contractors. On the property management side, rent money going into an escrow account, not an operating account. I can't believe that that's not already a law. Security deposit disbursements. Hopefully we don't need to deal with death or disability of a broker. This is an interesting one that probably, other than the healthcare, would affect us most directly. We've talked about the POA Act, and in parts of the state, I haven't heard you guys say so much about it, but in a lot of areas, folks have a problem where they'll ask for the disclosure packet and they'll get part of it. But that part of it triggers the 3 days. So the buyer then has to make a decision maybe before the rest of the packet comes dribbling in. So there's been a lot of debate about how to change that wording or whether or not to change that wording. Could it be any time that's agreed upon, like the earnest money? What they've ended up going for is the right to extend that for up to 4 more days. So to make it a calendar week total. I don't know that would fix the problem. Have you guys run into that? Are there associations here that hand it out in pieces? Yes, no?
I found it's not so much the associations, but the agents on the other side.
Oh.
Have part of it.
Okay.
But then they don't follow up with the association to get the rest of it.
Okay. So then maybe they've already got covenants and restrictions and they hand those to you first. So that's something kind of on the buyer side, to be aware of. and maybe refuse to take them, refuse to accept them if you know there's more coming. If there's not more coming, that's perfectly legal. If they say this is what we've got, and this is all we've got, and it's not everything that the law says should be there, that's fine, as long as they're telling you that's all we've got. But the problem has come where people get a partial packet, and they may not get to see, here's the covenants and restrictions, I'll get you the financials as soon as I can. Well, my 3 days started when I got the covenants and restrictions. So that's what this is trying to eliminate. And then the last one, some of us have talked about this. There are some subdivisions, older communities in our area that have restrictive covenants that would now violate fair housing. There are communities that say no black folks can live here. There are communities that say no Jewish folks can live here. And they're still there because nobody's taken the time to go back and change those things in the original documents. So what is being proposed would force those to be removed from the deed as at each transfer. So notations would be made in the deed that those were removed. The interesting thing about that list to me is there's nothing on there about teams. So they're happy with the changes to the team legislation. You know, there have been a lot of rumblings about there having to be a broker on a team or various other things to try to tighten that up, and there's nothing on that list. So I think they're good for now. Sort of along those lines, also in the HRAR newsletter, Bob talked about getting on a committee for next year. So I just wanted to throw that out there. As I'm looking around, most of you probably have already done that. But just as a refresher of what we've got in the local association, MLS changed several years ago and went from being one representative from every single firm, most of whom never showed up, to a group of 9 nominated by the board, trying to get an even representation of firms and geography throughout the association. The education committee has done a great job with getting local classes here. Community outreach is a fun committee. We do all the fundraising for worthy causes, which is a lot of fun to throw your energy into. Legislative and political affairs, if you have an interest in that and some of the things that we were talking about, this committee directly sends ideas to Richmond. You meet with our local representatives. If you have an interest in that, that's a lot of fun. The events committee, if that's your thing. Communications, Jeremy is not here right now, but that's a new committee that he chairs, which I think is going to be really effective. Grievance and professional standards are really interesting for a couple of reasons. Just the training and everything is interesting if you like that type of thing. The thing that makes it weird about this area is we almost never have any cases to deal with. I was on both of those committees for 2 years and never got called to do anything. And in I only know of one case that's ever involved a client agent that somebody filed a complaint, an ethics issue. So I think it's just very, very rare here that people file complaints against each other. But you get some interesting training there. So, anything you want to say about any of the committees you've served on?
I would just echo what you said. If you have any interest at all, it's a great way to get involved, and you can always start with one of the committees that are maybe not as maybe meet less frequently than some of the others, but it's just great opportunity and for new agents, if maybe you haven't met a lot of your colleagues, it's just a great way to get involved.
Yep, for new agents especially. I mean, the folks that are on those committees are the folks that are serious about this as a career, and so it's a great way to get to know those folks and be taken seriously yourself pretty quickly.
And just to, I think we all know this, any of us who have worked with Bob, but Bob's leadership is just phenomenal.
Yep.
So we are really, really fortunate to have Bob.
We really are. He's incredible. He's incredible. On the not so great news, you all got your CenturyLock invoices. Those need to be paid by the end of the month. You can go online and pay them that way. We've got one realtor open house today, believe it or not. Any listings any of you want to share? Everybody's in a sugar coma.
Oh, I can share mine. 1951. It was released last Tuesday, but 1951, So the house, and this has been a little bit confusing. The house right next door is for sale as well, with our office. So don't go to the wrong house. 5 bedrooms, 5 baths. As you can see there, over 4,000 square feet. The awesome thing about this house is that it's zoned R3, and there is actually a registered apartment 1 downstairs. So 4 bedrooms and 4 baths upstairs, and then the additional basement apartment with 1 bedroom, 1 bath, full kitchen. It's just, high ceilings, some upgraded windows. They built this in 2015, 2014, into 2014, into 2015, and yeah, they are ready to build another one. So bring me an offer. They are excited to break ground. So they are kind of motivated 1 week on the market. So one piece of feedback that we have received already is that the master bathroom is a little bit small, and his wife complained about that as well. So he proposed to me that he was going to take it down off the market and renovate it over Christmas. And I said, well, let's just have a little bit of patience and see what happens here in the next 2 weeks. But it might be taken off the market over Christmas break if he decides he wants to renovate the upstairs master bathroom. That's downstairs basement apartment. Yeah.
That is a huge house.
It's a ginormous house. 449. Yeah, that's all part of the basement apartment. So there's kind of like 2 living rooms downstairs. And the apartment's 1,400 square feet. So
Wow.
What does that rent for?
he's never rented it. He's had 2 college students. His children live down there. Yeah. Yeah, it overlooks, back there is 33, and so you can't see the western range, but you can see a part of the eastern range from the back there.
Is that the last house we've been doing?
I think the castle was, no, so, Elaine Wanger's listing right next door is the last one we built. There's still another lot right next door to this one, that could be built on. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Nothing. Okay. Have a great week. I'll see you Thursday evening. World record short meeting. Yeah, I really didn't think we'd have too many folks here.
My kids, oh my goodness, every morning.
It's not
Now this morning it was.
It's 7.
Or the church.